Urgent Birds fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Eagles! Two-time Pro Bowler expresses heavy interest in joining Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles cruised their way to what looked like an easy Super Bowl win over the Kansas City Chiefs in February. Since then, several of their players have moved on, either due to an expiring contract or trade, like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Naturally, the Eagles will have to do their best, offsetting their off-season losses by finding capable replacements who can still help Philadelphia compete for another Super Bowl. Yet, Eagles general manager Howie Roseman's job has just gotten easier. Related 6 biggest winners from NFL free agency day to Justin Simmons wants to reunite with his old coaches on Philadelphia Eagles, while they managed to resign Zach Bond to a contract extension. The Philadelphia Eagles have several other starters to replace on defense after Josh Sweat and Milton Williams departed. They've also moved on from James Bradbury and Darius Slay. While Howie Roseman is as good as anybody at being one step ahead of his team's most urgent needs, the Eagles have some especially big holes to fill. However, recently former two-time Pro Bowl safety Justin Simmons went on the Talkin' Ball podcast to discuss his interest in playing for the Eagles, where he'd get to reunite with 2 of his former defensive coaches from his days in Denver. There's a lot of good things about Philly. Their offense is clearly one of the most talented in the league. That offensive line is unbelievable. But what the defense did this past season to go win that Super Bowl is crazy. You can tell the leadership, their top down, is by far one of the best in the league. To have an opportunity to go play in Philly, especially reuniting with Vic and CP, is high on the list. Justin Simmons on interest in playing for Philadelphia Eagles with both his former Broncos defensive coordinator and his defensive backs coach. Now working in Philadelphia, Simmons would have a strong sense of familiarity with the Eagles, and they do have a need for another safety. On paper, this fit seems perfect, but will the two sides be able to come to an agreement? Pausing this news, just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Eagles Nation news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks! Now let's get back to the news. Eagles bring back key utility player on one-year deal. The Eagles are signing linebacker fullback Ben VanSumeren to a one-year deal for 2025. The Eagles are signing special teamer linebacker fullback Ben VanSumeren to a one-year deal to stay in Philadelphia for the 2025 season, a league source confirmed to NBC Sports Philadelphia. VanSumeren, 24, was an exclusive rights free agent, so he wasn't going anywhere as long as the Eagles wanted him back. The Eagles bypassed the tender to sign him to a one-year deal. In November, VanSumeren was lost for the season after suffering a significant knee injury in practice. At locker cleanout day, VanSumeren said his goal was to be ready for OTAs this spring and is still on target. The Eagles added VanSumeren as an undrafted free agent in 2023, and he carved out a role over the last 2 seasons as a special teamer, reserve linebacker, and in 2024, a fullback. Before the injury in November, VanSumeren had played 213 snaps on special teams and 22 as a fullback on offense. He did not see any game action on defense this past season, but played 50 snaps on defense as a rookie. During his time with the Eagles, VanSumeren has been a key special teams player for Michael Clay. VanSumeren was able to make an impact on offense enough that when he went down for the season, the Eagles added veteran fullback Kari Blasingame to fill in at the position and continue the package. Going into 2025, VanSumeren is expected to play a ton of special teams as a core guy for Michael Clay's unit, but will also get reps at linebacker and fullback. He expects to have a new number this season, so he doesn't have to report as an eligible receiver every time he steps on the field as an offensive player. Eagles monitoring Trey Hendrickson's situation. Her report imagined that a winning franchise wants winning players. The Eagles are one of them, but the Bengals aren't showing they are. Winning franchises want players who can help them win. It's a simple formula, though it's not one the Cincinnati Bengals have shown they fully embrace, especially in the case of Trey Hendrickson. The Philadelphia Eagles, meanwhile, are coming off their 3rd Super Bowl trip since 2017 and 2nd win in the big game. They want good players. They want to pay good players. So perhaps it shouldn't come as a surprise to hear the Eagles are among the NFL teams showing interest in Hendrickson, who was recently given permission to seek a trade. According to NFL reporter Cam Marino, the Eagles are keeping an eye on Hendrickson, though it's unclear how strongly the team could pursue the veteran defensive end. With the Bengals looking to get a first-round pick in a potential Hendrickson trade, the Eagles may be one of the few teams willing to offer one since they pick at the very end of round 1. Speaking of, NFL Network reporter Cameron Wolfe says the Bengals are asking for a first-round pick and more, but teams are going to wait this out and hope the asking price is lowered. Doesn't look like we're close to any kind of solution. Why Super Bowl champion Eagles are 2025 NFL free agency's biggest loser. The Eagles have lost a lot of talent without replenishing it during free agency, so they are the biggest loser of the offseason so far. There is a cost to winning in the NFL, and the Philadelphia Eagles are finding that out the hard way. Of course, the team has no regrets considering they won Super Bowl 59, but the offseason directly following that championship has been far from pretty. The team has been arguably the biggest loser of free agency so far, and in this article, we are going to explain why. Eagles free agent losses. When you win the Super Bowl, the other 31 teams in the NFL immediately want your players. It is a copycat. League and Super Bowl winners clearly have the talent to accomplish the ultimate NFL goal. The Eagles have been a prime example of this. They entered free agency with a number of elite players hitting the open market, and they've lost most of them to massive paydays from other teams. Milton Williams and Josh Sweat are the team's biggest offseason losses. Williams spent a lot of time coming off of the bench in Philadelphia due to the team's first-round investments in Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, but he forced his way into the defensive rotation and was a key contributor in winning a championship. The Eagles would have loved to have Williams back, but he had no choice but to bolt in free agency because of the massive $104 million deal over 4 years that the New England Patriots gave him. Williams has tons of potential, and his loss hurts the Eagles drastically, but they were never going to be able to compete with such a big overpay. Sweat was given the bag, too. He signed a 4-year, $76.4 million deal with the Arizona Cardinals. Sweat has 43 sacks off of the edge in his career, including 8 last season. The front seven was a strength for the Eagles last season, especially when it comes to depth. The team's defensive line got a whole lot weaker thinner with the departures of Williams and Sweat, though, and making it back to the Super Bowl won't be nearly as easy because of these huge losses. The Eagles lost some other key contributors on defense, too. Salary cap issues forced Philadelphia to release both Darius Slay and James Bradberry. The defensive backs are 34 and 31 years old, respectively, so their best days are likely in the rearview mirror. Still, they are veteran players who played a big part in the Eagles' secondary having a resurgence last season. Slay, in particular, still looks like one of the best cornerbacks in football. Bradberry even had somewhat of a bounce-back season after transitioning to the safety position. The Eagles traded another defensive back, too. Philadelphia acquired Kenyon Green in a trade with the Houston Texans. They sent out C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and that was a move we just couldn't get behind. We gave the Eagles a D grade for the trade. Losing another key defensive back hurts, but only adding an offensive lineman who has looked like a bust so far in his career is even worse. Isaiah Rodgers, yet another defensive back, also signed elsewhere. He agreed to a 2-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings. And now, Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Birds. I'll be back any moment with more Eagles. Nation News. Fly, Eagles, fly.